and welcome back to the another class of our course about Python. We talk about many things until now. We are gonna learn another thing that will be very useful into your Python programming. So what are gonna talk about today are functions. So basically functions are just a simplified way to write down your code. So we will start by learning how we can write functions. So basically functions will always start with a def. So when you write down def, this means you are creating function. So you are creating your own function. So let's say for example your function love. So write down name of your function. Let's say love. We will say what exactly love. So open up parenthesis, and inside our parenthesis you will write down the element that will use in your function. So in this case we will say name. So the parameter will be name. When it's all done, you write down colon. After that you want to put something in your function. So let's say you want to print, then write I love and then add name. So in this case your function is very basic. So have function which is love, you have name which will be the parameter, and your function output will print I love plus name. So in this case name. So if we run our function, so how do we run this function? You can just click here. It's not gonna work to run your function. You need to write down your function name. So love, and in this case your parameter is name. So simply have to change it. In this case a name, let's say I will be pizza. So since string you write it down like this and then you can run it. So you can run your function. Simply write here. As you can see, it's I love pizza. If we write here, then it's not gonna work because this is in the def function. So we write here love and pass the parameter pizza. So what it does, it simply will help you only write down the code once, and then you can run your function as many times as you want. So right here it's something very simple. Once again it's only one line of code. It's the function plus one line of code. So what's happening in function? So write down print I love you. Alright. So I want that this course is really to show you how you can use functions and do something very cool with them. So you will have one person that is ordering food. You will have another person who will tell what type of food this person wants. And you will have the person number 1 who will answer to this person. Thank you. So we will use functions to create all these. So we'll create three functions. In this case we will have person 1 and person 2. So let's start. The first thing we want to create right now will be first function. So the function for person number 1. So the first thing we'll be writing down def function. So this is how we start the creation of function. So write down that, then let's say person 1. So in this case we write down name because the only parameter that we will need will be the name, and write down colon. What exactly the person 1 will say? The person 1 will say hello, how can I help you? So simply write first print name of the person plus colon, and write down hello, how can I help you? Alright, so we have all this. So let me just run this small line of code and show you what it looks like. So we have our person 1, and in this case, let's say the name will be cashier because the person is cashier. So simply write this down. Alright, when it's all done, we run this app. So as you can see here, cashier, hello, how can I help you? So we have our person number 1 who is saying, hello, how can I help you? Alright, so you can delete this right now. What we want to do, we will create the person number 2. So the person number 2 will ask what she or he wants to eat. So the way I want to make it bit more complicated, we are going to use inputs. Once again, it's not more complicated, but you will see it's going to be more cool. So in this case, we are going to use input since we are going to ask our user to tell us what he wants to eat. So let's write it down. So first thing, we are starting our function with def. Then we write down the person, in this case 2, and the first line because the person number 1 takes only once. Alright, so what exactly this person will say? The food that he or she wants to drink. Food, drink, the dessert, and her or his name. Alright, so those are parameters that will be used in this function. So we have 4 parameters and that's we will use. Alright, next thing we start with our name since we want the user to tell us name. So the user will tell us what he wants to eat. In this case, we simply write down name equal and we write down input. Once again, the input function as we saw it before, it is the way to ask our user to give us certain answer. So we ask him a question and the user give us an answer. In this case, we write down input and we ask our user what is your name. So very simple, user answers, and next thing we want to ask the user what food you want to eat. So in this case, we call this variable food. As you can see, I am storing variable in function. So I have food. In this case, we'll ask our user what type of food you want to eat. So input, and we ask our user what do you want to eat. Alright, so the user will answer us. Next thing, we will ask the user what type of drinks he wants. So we will name this variable drink. We write down input and ask the user what exactly he wants to drink. What do you want to drink? Great. The next thing, we will ask our user what type of dessert you want. So dessert. And once again, we will do same thing, input. So what dessert do you want? I miss here double quote. So right now, the person will answer those questions. What is your name? What do you want to eat? What do you want to drink? And finally, what dessert do you want? So, those are the questions we are asking our user. The last thing that we want to do in our function is print something. So, what it will be output of this function. So, when we have all those answers to all those questions. So, right now, we will write down the outputs. In this case, we will write down monologue of the person, print. So once again, we start with the name. So since we need name of the person, we will write down plus and open up double quotes, colon, name of the person and colon, and the person will say I would like the food that the person wants. So I would like plus, in this case, food, and then we continue our sentence. So in this case, I want drink. What the person want to drink? It's the person wants to drink the variable drink plus I want. So in this case, the last variable that will be used desert. So we simply open up double quote and write down as a desert. So we have output of our function right here. Alright. So until now we have our first two monologues. The last one will be very easy. So once again it's going to be person number 2. In this case we will write down dep for person number 1 and the second monologue. So person number 1 and 2. So in this case we just need the name of person to write down name, and person will say print. So the name of person, so the name of the person, because we want to know who is talking, name plus open up double quote and thank you. That's it. So right now we have all our functions. So first thing that we want to write down our code. So in this case, what we want to do. So how exactly we write it down? I simply write down our first person. So this will be our first person who will talk. So in this case, first one, let's say name of the first one is cashier. Then the second person, who will talk will be the person number 2. So in this case, person 2 1. And in this case, we don't need to name all those variables. We can just write exact same thing. We can just copy paste those variables or write down food, drink, desert, name. So those are our 4 variables that were the 4 elements that are in our function. And finally, we have the person number 1 and 2. So in this case, it once again the cashier. Here we have the name of variable which is cashier. Alright, so right now we have everything that we need, and the only thing that is left to do will be to run our function. So we have our cashier who says, hello, how can I help you? So you answer, what is your name? In this case, my name is John. What do you want to eat? I want to pizza. What do you want to drink? Soda. And what dessert I want? I want cake. As you can see, here we have John. I would like pizza. I want to drink soda. I want cake as a dessert. And the cashier says, thank you. As you can see, we have our modern monologue that is created, and As you can see, it's very simple. We created our functions right here. Alright, you can just write down functions and reuse these functions with the help of function calling. So right now, you understand what is the concept of function and how exactly they can help you. We will see later in this course some more cool stuff that can do with functions. But until now, you know that they exist and they are just a good way to store information and calculation in them. So that's it for this class guys, and see you in next class.